Hi everyone. Sad time. I was intending to do a live question time tonight, obviously, but the very sad passing of Anna earlier in the week has led me to have a rethink, change that, and have a sort of tribute night to Anna. Just like to say before we get started, we all know the basic outline details of Anna's sad passing. Don't really want to go into any details about that anymore. Just want to be discussing her life and her career and celebrate her life rather than sift through the gruesome details of her death, which I don't think anyone really wants to hear. We've all heard it now anyway. So just sort of like to start with Anna background details. Basically, Anna obviously was South African. She started out her ambitions were to be a vet when she was a child. She went on to join the South African National Theatre, but of course she fell foul of the apartheid system over there. Obviously, apartheid was still very rife at that time in South Africa. I do believe there was some incident with our theatre where she was. She went to meet a black stage manager who was ill in hospital or something like that, and that was very frowned upon. And she got a lot of grief and into trouble for that. So she ended up moving as a teenager to the UK and settled in London. She joined up with the drama school in London Dramatic Arts or something, I think it was, off the top of my head. To do that, she took on jobs such as portering, working in hotels and things to get wages to pay her fees, or drama school fees. That progressed on to modelling and exotic dancing, where she got better wages for it. To pay more for more of her drama fees for drama school. From that, she began to get in and break in and get small parts in films. I think the first thing she was in, she had a small part in I think it was like a public information film almost called Nudist Memories, which was the early 60s. She'd have small stage roles and also went on to be in I think it was A Sandwich Man in 1966, which was a hit film. She had a small part in that. She formed a friendship over the years as well with Barbara Windsor. Barbara Windsor was in a sitcom, a comedy called Wicked Wicked Women, and that's where Ronnie Wolf, that was about 2 years before On the Buses. That would be about 1966, 67. That's where Ronnie Wolf, Ronnie Chesney, they spotted her performing in that, and thought she'd be great for the part of Olive. And she got the part as Olive, obviously, on the Buses, and that's where her career really did take off. Obviously, she was in Carry On Camping as well, just in the lead up just before On the Buses in 68, I think Carry On Camping was. And of course, later on, went on to have a small part in Carry On Loving. Hi, Beverly. So you feel free while I'm rabbiting on here to post up any memories of Anna. As I say, we don't really want to be discussing the details, the gruesome details of her death. Let's just talk about any memories that you had, if you had any meetings with her or any tribute yourself you want to pay. Just post it up down there and I'll answer it or give you any more details to it in due course. But as I was saying, obviously On the Buses, she was a big star, and On the Buses, it was a role that no other, very few women actresses wanted at that time. It certainly wasn't a glamorous role, as we all know, the way that she was supposed to be a dowdy, put upon housewife, and she took on that role, made it her own, and really chiseled it into a really funny character. It depends which one you're asking of, Beverly. If it's a Holiday on the Buses event in Prestatyn, she was going to be invited to that event. Yes, indeed. and it is hoped that she would have been able to make it as well. That all depended on the money side of things. Obviously, we need to have a good turnout of people to be able to get the funds to pay to have got Anna up there. But sadly, as you know, that's not going to happen now. And as I was saying, she made that part of her own. Even thereafter, she had stage roles. Then in the 80s, she went on to, she had a role in the Roland Rat, the hit children's TV series. And of course, after that came roles in she was in Goodnight Sweetheart as well. She had a role in one of the episodes. She was also obviously went on to play Aunt Sal alongside her long-time friend Barbara Windsor in EastEnders. She was even still active right up until like now. She was, I think she was down to, or there might be one that's actually been made now. It's like a documentary. I think it's about how people deal with disabilities or something like that. And, I think it's due to air on Channel 5. It might be sometime later this year. So she was still very active and still recording at the age of 85. And of course, another part that Anna was very into was her. She was a teacher at a drama school. And she used to put on productions with people from that drama school down at Stratford Royal and Stratford East, and the strangely enough in the theatre that Bob Grant started out in Stratford East. Yeah, I do believe that was at one of the events I organised. I think it was. It might have been the 2018 event, I do believe, or something like that. I'd need to see the photo again and see the backdrop to know where the venue was for it, if you see what I mean. Because we used a different venue for one of the events that Anna attended. So, yeah, it's just such a shock, really. But I mean, feel free to post up any memories and stuff like that of you. I mean, obviously there's been some nice tributes around. Like I know Scott, who was married to Barbara Windsor, said she was a real great. Anna was a real great help to him when he was struggling when Barbara passed away, and she was always on the phone to him and giving him, encouragement and helping him through his really dark times. She said she was a real great help in that area as well. So just sort of like speaks volumes for the lady that I got to know as at the events as well. I mean, she went on to be the queen of On the Buses, but there was no airs and graces on her. You know, she wasn't one of these celebrities who's put herself above, and she acted as if she was higher and better than anyone else. Even when we had some of the lesser cast members of On the Buses, who obviously maybe only appeared in one episode or were only extras, she never really belittled them or anything like that, or even when we had crew members there, like we had the hammer runners at the event and everything. She was always welcoming to them as well. She wasn't one of those that had airs and graces on her. So just share your memories if you've met her or anything like that as well, or you'd like to say how great you thought she was in whatever parts. You can do that right down there as well. 74 episodes, Gerald. Yeah, she was in every episode. The only ones that were in all 74 episodes were Bob Grant and Stephen Lewis. So there was only 3 that were in all of the episodes: Bob Grant, Stephen Lewis, and Anna, obviously. The rest, of course, all for different reasons. Michael Robbins left at the end of series 6, so he was 13 episodes short of the full run, 61 episodes. Doris didn't do series 1, so Doris done 68 episodes, and Reg left halfway through series 7, so he had done 68 episodes. So it was, as I say, there was she had a really long career, and she had, if you look at the background that she had a really tough sort of start. It was a real grind to make it work and break through. Obviously, she came over to the UK in the 1950s, the late 1950s. So it took her the best part of 10 years to get to the part of On the Buses and On the Buses. So she had a lot of tough years of trying to make it before she eventually did with On the Buses. Obviously, of course, she had Carry On Camping, as I say, the year before On the Buses, but that was really just a small part, wasn't a very big part, if you see what I mean. So On the Buses was really the big breakthrough for Anna. And I think it's it shows, like, it's no real surprise that what her ambition as a kid was to be a vet, because she really was a dog lover. Hi there, Neil. She loved her dogs. They were all the pet dogs that you see on the buses. All were pets of Terry Duggan and Anna herself, if you see what I mean. And even right up to, obviously, her sad passing, she had a little West Highland Terrier dog. Yeah, of course. It's good when you get that. Basically, it was as you say, Gerald. And you look at all the people coming out and paying respects. It's all very good things that they've got to say about Anna. Of course, we know that from the many On the Buses events she attended with us. Yeah, that's right. She did always want to be involved in, obviously, even in her later years with her reduced mobility. She had a mobility scooter. In her later years, she was still doing and taking up any roles that came her way, if you see what I mean. And I do believe she was still actually teaching as well at her drama school, if you see what I mean. So, and don't forget, that's a woman that's in her 80s. Came through COVID as well, and it wasn't COVID that got her, it was just a terrible accident, if you see what I mean. I mean, to me, as I was doing, anybody that was here may have been on the Facebook tribute that I done on my Facebook page last night. And I'll say again, I feel that Anna really excelled in the films more than the TV series. She had a lot of funny lines and all of that. You get the film roles that she had. She had a lot of meaty, funny lines in it, even more so than what we got in the TV series, which was great. And it really sort of like, that's where Anna excelled in the role of Olive even more in the films, I would say, personally. Cheers, Neil. Thanks for popping in. So if you've got any memories, anything you want to share about Anna, then feel free to post it all up there. I mean, she was also worth pointing out, she was a very fiercely independent woman as well. I mean, I know that there was people saying that she'd be in a nursing home and all of that, or moved to secure living area or something like that. But Anna wouldn't have it. She was determined she would carry on living in a marital home where Terry and her lived, if you see what I mean. She was very fiercely independent woman, if you see what I mean. Yeah, that's right. That's the same with me and my lab. That was exactly the same. She was very much. She could be feisty when she wanted to be, because a lot of the time she gave as good as she got. Yeah, exactly. It was like, well, that's it. They all played the part so well, Gerald. It's like the story. I think it's on the. I'm not sure if it's on the interview that's on the YouTube channel here with Bob Grant, where he says they were about to start filming a shot. They were hanging around waiting for them to start filming at the depot up in Wood Green, just outside the depot. And this old woman came up to him and asked him when the next bus was to somewhere or other, and they said, "Well, I don't actually know, madam. I'm about to start." Before he could get you to finish, and she whacked him with the umbrella and said, "Well, you bloody well ought to." And obviously, he was just there to film. He wasn't an actual busman, if you see what I mean. So yeah, that's the way that the characters were. Though they were so well portrayed and acted, and the series was so well written as well. It sort of like, to me, it's a bit like upstairs, downstairs is the same as well. It's sort of got this knack of transporting you down back in time. Upstairs, downstairs was great at doing that, for transporting you back, because it was such a great costume drama and all of that. So well written that it actually did feel like you were actually back there in the early 1900s. Same with On the Buses, you could feel that you're back in the 70s. You had the full setup there that dealt with all the issues at the time, the unions, the power of the unions, and the battle with the management and all of that, which was very prevalent at the time. You also had the battle with the for struggling to survive financially, because it was very tough financial times in that time. They even covered very topical subjects like the decimalization and all of that. So it really did tap into that era, if you see what I mean. And it's great that you can go back in, and it just feels like you slip back and you're into the 1970s when you're watching an episode. I mean, to me, I don't get this stuff that people come out with when they say it hasn't dated very well. It's all about, it was set in the 1970s, and that's how it's meant to be. It was so well done that why would it appear to be like the 1990s or the 2000s or anything like that? To me, if something's funny, it's funny. It doesn't seem to be any relevance whatsoever to say that something's not dated very well. The fact that we've got this YouTube channel where pizza still shown on the telly, there's such an outpouring of grief when Anna passes away, just says how popular it still is today. So that to me tells me that it's aged very well. So feel free to post up any memories or any subject, any about Anna, if you want to share any memories or any tributes to Anna. There is one, as I say, I remember from one of the events when she states about how when she went for the screen test for the role of Olive, and she turned up looking all glamorous, and Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney, the writers who wanted her for the part, she came in all made up and looking really glamorous. They took her into the back seat of the car parked outside the studios when she was going in, before she went in for the screen test, and they told her to take off all her makeup and everything like that. So because they said we don't, that's not the sort of Olive that we're looking for. So they got to take off all her makeup, and so that she looked a little more dowdy, more of the dowdy character that they wanted, and on the buses, if you see what I mean. And it worked because she got the part, obviously. Another memory is like Stuart Allen. He used to say, like the start of every series, like Anna would come in and she said, "Oh, look, I've lost a few pounds," like. And Stuart Allen, he said that wasn't very good for him because he wanted a sort of like a larger figure, if you see what I mean, for the part of Olive, if you know what I mean. Obviously, they used a lot of the padding a lot of the time, but he said he had a knack where if he could be nasty and upset her in some way, then she would get sort of like stressed, and she would go to the canteen and eat some cream cakes that's comfort for sort of food. And then they said they had the sort of like the sort of like put the pounds back on, and that was the sort of character that they were looking for. And the thing, Anna never wasn't offended by any of that because she used to attend the events with Stuart Allen and joke about that, our events. Jesse, yeah, there's lots of people that were in on the buses that are still alive, lots and lots of them. I mean, I couldn't really go into them just now because there's so many that are still alive, Jesse. Yeah, and now Gerald, the only one that did was Cicely Courtnidge, who's made a dame. So Cicely Courtnidge, who was in the played mum in Series One, was made a dame. Obviously, she had I think she had done a lot of work with the services as well, and during World War II, and had a long stage career as well. And she was made a dame. That's okay. That's all right. As long as you're here now, that's the main thing. So you know what to do if you've got any thoughts or anything like that about Anna. Just more specifically Anna, really, because it's our night dedicated to Anna, if you see what I mean. And so it'd be great if you could share any memories or your thoughts on Anna and the role as Olive and on the buses, or even and any other thing that you remember and you like seeing her in. Yeah, as I say, um, we're all like that, but it's a chance now for us to all remember Anna alive and celebrate her life rather than going back over her death again. It's more of a tribute night as to talk about her life and all of that rather than passing, if you see what I'm saying. I know Anna did another thing that we got from the events on speaking, learning, and speaking to Anna. She wasn't very keen on Brian Nazar, the director of Series 7 and the Holiday on the Buses. Do you get the impression there was friction there between the two over a couple of things? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I understand that. So like I know with Brian, he was a tough taskmaster in his job. Like I know there was one episode in on the omnibuses. That's where she changed herself to the railings, and they actually wanted to use metal railings for that part, and they actually did it for a part of it, and but Anna wasn't happy doing it, and Terry Duggan, her husband, obviously he demanded that they changed it to a more plastic rather than metal, because obviously it was strapped to her back, which was dangerous and all of that. It's the same with obviously when they had to film the scene at Rutland Bridge at the River Clwyd, where they go in for the cases and holiday on the buses. And they obviously both Michael and Anna, they weren't very happy with it, obviously, and they insisted that they were given a tetanus jab, obviously, because going into a dirty river, if they had cut themselves or anything, they could have been infected. No, I think it was a whole family that she moved with, but she was only 17, obviously, at the time when she moved over to London. So it was still a big move, obviously, for somebody that age, and obviously to make it as she did just speaks volumes for Anna and her determination, I suppose. Yeah, that's it as well, Fox Mulder. Exactly. I mean, and the thing is, as well, opportunities were much harder to come by in the for actresses in the 50s, 60s. Yeah, that's like, yeah, Alan. She was only 17 when she moved here, but as I was saying, I mean, if you think about it, with getting chances and all of that, they were really quite tough for women to get big sort of like roles that where they could have sort of like really meaty parts, and Olive turned into that. If you watch Series 1 episodes of On the Buses, you can see the total differences. Obviously, you can see with Series 1, as I think I've said here before, if you watch Series 1, there's a few of the characters that you can see the writers are getting to know the actors and the characters themselves, and they're tweaking them to find where they can get the last from with them in Series 1. But then Series 2, once they got to know the actors and their strengths and all of that, that's where they really started to get more Anna as well, especially in Series 1. She was mostly seen just coughing and sort of like being the archetypal sort of hypochondriac, if you see what I mean. But then she did gradually get more and more lines as the series went on, a little more meaty lines, meatier part as well to go with it. No, Alan, she didn't. Not any of her own children, but she brought up Terry had a daughter from his first marriage that Anna brought up as her own once they got married in 1967, I think it was. I think she had a fall at home. I think she had a fall down the stairs or something like that with Anna, and but it wasn't broken as such. Like, if she wasn't paralyzed, she still had limited mobility. She had a mobility scooter to get around, which she did to our events with a mobility scooter, as you can see from some of the photos that I've posted up on Facebook and all of that. When she's by the poolside up at Pontins and all that, you can see it in the mobility scooter, but she still got around. She didn't put it off, even as I say, continuing to work as a teacher at our grammar school, which she did. Yeah, Terry was in a few episodes, quite a fair few episodes, and he was in the first spin-off film as well. I think they also worked together. Maybe don't quote me on that, but it's maybe where they met was on the set of Poor Cow, which was a really a gritty hit film in the sort of like towards the end of the 1960s, which Anna had a small part in. Terry Duggan had a part in that as well. So we'd say that there's a good chance that's where they actually met. I mean, I know somewhere on Facebook yesterday when I put up my tribute and amongst that said Anna didn't suffer fools gladly, and someone pulled me up in it saying, "Is that meant to be a compliment?" Well, yeah, it is, because she wasn't the sort when she was at our events. She knew a chancer when she seen one, if you know what I mean. Something that she honed in, and she could spot that straight away, which is my comment that I was supposed to meant by that, which is always good to see, because we as organisers need to know if there's anything sort of like funny about a character that's at an event who might be doing something they shouldn't be doing, that sort of thing. And Anna sort of like had an eye for that sort of thing, if you know what I mean, which was always great as well. Because you can't, some of the times you can't have your eyes everywhere on things that are going on an event, if you see what I mean. So that was my reasoning behind that comment, really. Nothing else to it other than that. Yeah, it is, but life goes on. I mean, I'm not one for doing fundraising sort of things. I think it would be better to me, Gerald. The better idea for me would be if everyone sort of like bought their own reefs and sent it down. So 10 reefs would look better than one reef, if you see what I mean. So rather than just having one lone tribute there, you've got like 10 floral tributes, if you see what I mean. Hi, Anthony. I mean, there's someone else around, I won't mention names, that are doing this fundraising, and they said they'd take all the money in, and then they would use the rest of the money to go towards an event later in the year and all of that, which I find a bit nefarious, but there you go. No, as I said before, Anna would have been asked in the coming weeks, depending on the tickets that were sold. Obviously, we did stipulate that at the time that depending on the tickets that are sold, the more tickets that are sold, the more celebrities we could get to the events. Anna would have definitely been talked about and about obviously invited to the event. Should we have had enough people willing to dig their hands in the pockets and buy tickets to the event, if you see what I mean. That's what it all came down to. Always does when you're organising these sorts of events. You can't get a main star along with only 10 tickets sold, for example. It's just not viable. But if there was, put it this way, there's our event that's on in Prestatyn that was on up in June. There's another event on the week later in Boreham Woods, and I know for a fact Anna would have been with us, not the event in Boreham Woods. Hi, Alan. Alan 4777. Good to see you here. If you want to share your memories of Anna, you can feel free to do so. Share your tributes to Anna and things. Yeah, Anna was, yeah, definitely. Well, they can if you know what you're looking for, Gerald, if you know what you want to put together for sort of floral tributes. I mean, that's the thing when you have these collections anyway, and that's another fault to these collections that you can have. If you have a collection and it's left to say, I'm the one that's taking all the money and I'm going out and buying the tribute, the floral tribute, it might not be to your liking or to somebody else who's put £20 in or someone else who's put £10 in. They might say, oh, what's that? What my money went on? Don't really like that at all. If you see what I mean, I don't think that's very appropriate or something like that. Whereas you've got your own ideas of what you want to send, then obviously your money can pay for what exactly it is you want. I would say there probably won't be a public memorial service. Maybe there might be something down in Covent Garden. Maybe sometimes you have things like that at the down at the Covent Gardens. Well, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's opposite the Actors Club in Covent Garden. I don't really want to go into the details of her death, as I said earlier on. It's more to celebrate her life. Obviously, that's mentioned, but there's a lot of stuff that's been mentioned that goes against the various other topics, various other subjects that were brought up. If you see what I mean. Yeah, Alan, I did, yeah, for sure. I'm a co-organizer of the event as well. Obviously, we kept tabs on her to see how she was during the COVID times and all of that. So we know how our mind ticked and how our mind worked and all of that. And it's and we can say with a degree of certainty where she would have been if she was going to attend any event this summer, and it would have been with us up in Prestatyn, given if the funds were right. That's it. That's the one, Anthony. Cheers for that. Yeah. It might be somewhere like that they might have something, but I'm not too actually sure about that. It's not always a given that there's a public memorial service, if you see what I mean. And Anna was a very private lady anyway, so it would depend whether she would have been happy with that or whether the relatives think she would be happy with that, if you see what I mean. Yeah, that's my point as well, Dave. It's not just that, but your funds, where your funds are going yourself, you're in charge of your money. You're in charge of your own destiny of your own money rather than handing it over to somebody else, and you've got to keep trusting that person to do right with the money given to them. So it's best that you send in your own tributes and all of that. And as I say, at least if you've got 10 floral tributes from people off of this chat group, it's better than having just one tribute, if you see what I mean, where it would be from a collection. Yeah, Gerald, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I was saying to somebody, one of my carry on friends, when we were talking on yesterday. And it's sort of like, at least in this way, at least with the invention of DVDs and streaming and the repeats on the telly and all of that, it's a form of sort of like immortality. She'll always be there with us with these DVDs and such like. I mean, a lot of people, as we all know, obviously Anna being the last member of the cast that has sadly passed, of the main cast that's passed away now. It's an end of an era, if you will. But to me, it won't be the end of this group here. My visiting of filming locations, doing live locations visits, organising events, running my Facebook group, perhaps more books. It won't dampen the spirits of that. That'll still be making damn sure that the memory of On the Buses stays alive. And I'll go with the grain of how I've always been, unlike someone else who's prominent, where it won't be taking it to put a fleece out and fleecing the fans of On the Buses in the process. My co-organizer contacted me about it when he got news of it early on Wednesday morning. It's just a case of, Dave, what you would do is you would maybe go to look in the around florists around the Ilford area. See what you fancy in terms of a wreath. And then if you get in touch with maybe Anna's agent, who is Shane Collins down in London, if you Google Shane Collins agent, you'll come across him, and he'll be able to pass you on the details of address to send any sort of floral tributes to. I'm sure he'd be happy to deal with maybe telling you exactly where to send the tributes, the florals tributes to, if you see what I mean. It's either that, or you can leave it until it's announced where Anna's funeral is going to be, and then you can send them down to churches. But on that side of things, churches are a little bit funny of churches are a little bit funny of accepting floral tributes. Some don't actually do it, so it might be better maybe sending it to Anna's personal address, if you see what I mean. No, not at the moment. Obviously, there's things like that'll have to be taken care of, like probably an autopsy investigation into the fire, how it started, and all of that. And then they'll obviously be setting about. It would probably maybe be in maybe a couple of weeks' time, the actual funeral, or maybe a 2.5 weeks' time. I'm not exactly sure of time scale, but probably be something around about that. I mean, if you look at Barry Cryer passed about maybe 2.5 weeks ago, and it was his funeral on Wednesday, I think, or Tuesday. Yeah, that's the best thing to do, Dave. And as I say, to me, it seems to make much more sense if people buy their own floral tributes and send them down. It's a little bit more personal. It's also, you know, that you're getting what you want to get, rather than doing a collection and leaving it to, like me. I might think lilies look good. You might absolutely hate lilies and might think that Anna would have liked something different, if you see what I mean. So it's sort of you get what you know that you're looking for, if you see what I mean, Dave. And obviously, you know what what you're paying for, rather than giving it to somebody else who's you've got to trust that they're going to get something worth the money, and the money's actually all going to go into it, and that sort of stuff, if you see what I mean. Yeah, she was married before she met them, before Terry, and I think she divorced in '64. That's how her first marriage ended. Well, when it ended, sorry. Yeah, it was deemed. Basically, the writers say that it was. They felt that BBC felt it was. Well, the writers felt the BBC thought it was too working class for them. I think they said something like, "What jokes can you have about late running buses and stuff like that?" They said once you've had a joke about late running buses, that's going to be about it. So they didn't really see the mileage that there was to it. If you see what I mean, that was another part that writers actually said to it, which shows what they actually know at the end of the day. Then, and of course, the writers then went to LWT. You might ask why LWT, why not Thames or ATV or something, or something like that, another channel like Granada. They went to LWT because Frank Muir was there. And Frank Muir was the head of comedy at LWT, and he had been at the BBC at the time, head of entertainment or comedy at the BBC when they took the rag trade to him. So somebody that they knew admired their work, so they took it there to LWT, and Frank Muir had a look at it, and after 10 minutes, he accepted the idea. Most of them had all passed by the time that I really got the sort of like seriously involved in on the buses, if you know what I mean. With Stephen, I did attend Stephen's funeral with Anna. I escorted Anna to Stephen's funeral. I met both the writers and producer Stuart Allen and such like, but not Reg was a bit too old to go down and meet at the age of 90 odd. He was by the time that was really into these events and writing and all of that. And obviously, Bob had long since passed, as had Doris, as had Michael. So the only ones that were really options were Stephen, who was obviously in his later years as well. He was in a nursing home, and Anna. But met sort of like upward of about maybe between 30 to 50 on the buses, actors, actresses, crew members. As I've said before, Anthony, we don't really want to tap into this and that. But as I said earlier, Anthony, Anna was a fiercely independent woman. She wasn't one to be taken away, carted away, and put in an old people's home, which you would see as the like of Brinsworth House and all of that. I know that our agent wanted that, but she didn't. She wanted to remain in the marital home where her memories were with Terry, obviously, as well. That was the reason why she did not want to be moved out of there, basically. So just keep your thoughts coming in, and any memories you want to share of Anna, any favourite bits about Anna on the buses, or anything else that Anna was in. Obviously, she was in the Rag Trade. She was in Wicked Wicked Women. She was in Carry On Camping, Carry On Loving, Roland Rat. Also, she was in an episode of Goodnight Sweetheart as well. Also, obviously, in EastEnders. I know there's a lot of good tributes from the EastEnders cast yesterday. Cheers, Martin. Cheers, Dave. You can let me know how you get on with your floral tribute. Oh, she was in the whole. She was in more than one episode of Rolling Rat. She was in quite a few episodes. I'm not exactly sure of the thingy. I'll just check for you just now. And that was like one. I think she was in. Yeah, she was in 14 episodes in the mid 1980s. So that was all of them that they actually done of Rolling Rat was 14 episodes. So she was in every one of them in the mid 1980s. Gerald, she's the one that Barbara Windsor fights with. She's the one that Barbara fights with in the hostel before they go on the trip, and she's the one in the blue leotard in the back row when Barbara loses her bikini top. Yeah, it's devastating news. Let's just remember her as she was in her life and celebrate her life. That's a way to think about it, really, David. I mean, nothing can be changed now, sadly. She Anna was in sort of like off and on in EastEnders. It wasn't a long run that you say in EastEnders. She made sort of like she would appear for maybe a few episodes here and there, go away for a bit, then come back again. She was in like according to she had a span of it from like about 1996 to 2017, according to IMDb, where she was in 56 episodes, 54 episodes. So she was in a fair few episodes of that, and I think she came back. I think they brought her back. I think the last appearance she had in EastEnders was for I think the funeral of Babs in it. I think it was. Yeah, she done that as well. Yeah, she was an exotic dancer at the Panama Club in London, and that was all done to pay her grammar fee, school fees. If you see what I mean. Yeah, she was very diverse in her acting, if you know what I mean. There was lots that she done in different avenues of things like that. Some of the things you might miss, obviously. I mean, you might have missed if you see what I mean. I mean, it's just looking now, it's something that you're often thought about as well. Like there was a sitcom that she was in. It's called Troubles and Strife. Wasn't a very big hit, obviously, but that came in the 80s as well. So there was a lot that she did um, over the years. lot of hit things, like also done an appearance in the Dick Emery show. The Bill, she was also in the Bill as well. So I mean, as you can see, there's a whole wide range of stuff. Also, Dixon and Doc Weem. And I think Fox Mulder will say that as well. There was a bit of what won't be available, Alan? I don't understand what you're saying there. Yeah, they done the Stephen and Bob and Anna done a stage production called Busman's Holiday, I think, and they also done one called Stop It Nurse. I think they were Sam Cree. I think Sam Cree wrote them. So I think one was While on the Buses was running in 1972, and the other one came in I think 74 after On the Buses had ended. I mean, if Fox Mulder's still here, he can probably confirm. Like, I know from having a few meetings with Bill Maynard, there was similarities between Bill and Anna there. They were very strong-minded people, I would say. You know, you couldn't change them off of the path that they were on, the thinking, the mindset. They were very strong-willed and they knew what they wanted and they were going to get it, if you see what I mean. That's there was that very much between the both, between Bill, having met him a few times, had preliminary work about a book that Bill was going to write, and with Anna, they both had that same sort of like very strong-willed mindset. So keep sharing your memories, any tributes or anything like that, and your memories or what you thought Anna was really great in, or any questions about Anna, and I'll answer them for you here on the screen. Yeah, that's it, exactly. They were very strong-willed. There was no almost to the point of stubbornness, if you know what I mean. They were sort that if somebody told them they couldn't do something, they would be damn sure that they could do it, if you see what I mean. Yeah, the whole cast got, as I've said before, said it many times, the whole of the cast got on really well together. There wasn't any friction there. They all got on so well. That's why they were ready to come back and work together again in 1990. If they, but sadly that didn't come to pass. But they all got on really great together. They all tap on that in various interviews. Doris taps on it in the Wogan interviews. Anna taps onto it in the interview that I've got up in here, as Bob does. And obviously Stephen was Bob's best man at his wedding in 1971 to Ken Benwell. Bob said in one of the interviews, I think it might be the one I've got in here on my YouTube channel, where he states that he still phoned up Reg Varney once a week. That was many years after On the Buses had finished. So it shows the bond that was formed there on the 4 years working together on the Buses. Yeah, it was just one of those things that helps to make it stand out, if you will, as well. It's was that little unusual element. Obviously, they had the sidecar. The only other things that I remember them having a sidecar and that you see a lot of was in George and Mildred. Obviously, they had one in Dad's Army, but it wasn't really in all that many episodes. And did they have one in Last of the Summer Wine? I wasn't really a massive Last of the Summer Wine fan, to be honest, but I do seem to recall they had one in that as well. So you've got any more memories to share? Just post them up here if you've got anything. I don't understand what you're saying there, Gerald. Who's YT? So have you got any more memories that you want to share of Anna and On the Buses, or anything else she was in, or pay a tribute? Yeah, it's tough, but we'll have to go on, I suppose. Really, life goes on. As I said earlier, I know people have said to me, like, oh, that's the end of an era, the end of On the Buses and things like that, but it won't be for me. I mean, I'll still be flashing out these locations visits, organising events, obviously doing these live podcasts and all of that. They won't deter me from those, if you see what I mean. Doesn't diminish my love for On the Buses anymore than as present. Yeah, that's right, Gerald. Yeah, that's correct. Nah, Jonathan, there would be no cause for them to mix, if you see what I mean. Why would they? People always ask that about the carry-ons. Why were they On the Buses? Actors not in the carry-ons. They moved in different circles. Peter Rogers and Gerald Thomas were your carry-on aficionados. They had their own ideas of who they wanted in the cast, and that was people that they'd worked with on past productions or from past carry-on films. So they weren't ones for delving out of their circles and going plucking people from wherever without really knowing about their credentials, if you know that. If you see what I'm saying. So the people, it depended on your circles that you moved in, like a lot of things, and most walks of life. If you don't move in the right circles, then you won't end up in Carry On films and such like. Yeah, Chris, that's what I said. I think she really comes alive in the films. The character of Olive, she has so many funny parts, and some of the times it's just being a sort of like it can be doing something straight as well that creates a joke. Like when she always cracks me up when she's eating all of the pickles in bed, and Arthur knocks it out of her hand, and then she goes under the covers, and then Arthur goes, "That's not it. That's not in the pajama cord." That just cracks me up every time that line does. But it's just the Olive actually in the act of doing what she was doing as well. She's funny as well, even though she doesn't actually provide the laugh. It's done by Arthur. You know what I mean? No, why would they hang out together as well? Obviously, Anna Karen was friends with Barbara Windsor. We believe that friendship was cemented on maybe Wicked Women that they first worked together on, which was like 1967, just before Carry On Camping. Obviously, they would have worked in terms of probably in stage productions at times. They crossed over like that and doing stage work because they all, even the Carry On actors, done stage work, as did the on the buses cast members and all of that. In terms of crossing over like that, so that's the sort of areas that they would have maybe worked together on certain projects. If you see what I mean. Obviously there was the lesser cast members and on the buses as well that done Carry On films, but as well like Norman Mitchell and such like David Lodge, Pat Coombs, Brian Ilton. There was a lot that done Carry On films, also done on the buses. If you see what I mean. But as I say, we want to get back to talking about Anna here. This is all about a tribute night to Anna Karen. So just share your memories, post them in down here, and I'll refer to them on the while I'm here. Of course, another memory of Anna that I always hold as well is she had a love of a Coke, and it had to be the proper Coke. Whatever you did with Anna when you were doing the event, you did not want to bring her over a Tesco Coke or a Sainsbury's Coke because that was a big no-no. It had to be the proper Coca-Cola. She loved a proper Coke. It had to be proper Coke. And she also had a love for coronation chicken sandwiches. I mean, you could offer her something that you'd got for the buffet, a special buffet we used to put on for the cast, but no, Anna would just have a something simple. She'd always ask for a coronation chicken sandwich, which she loved. So she was great in that way. She wasn't sort of like expecting the Ritz, and she didn't ask for the Ritz when you had her at the events, if you see what I mean. She was pleased with the simple things. which was also very nice as well. Yeah, I'm with Doris. It was called on the buses of Fresh Start. That was like where it was supposed to be them moving out to Canada. I think it might have been A New Life, actually. It might have been. Yeah, A New Life it was called, sorry. On the buses, A New Life. Yeah, that's like she certainly did. That's what I mean. She wasn't the sort of lady she was happy with just a simple can of Coke. It wasn't like she was asking for a bottle of Prosecco or a bottle of champagne or something like that. So we'll keep your fresh memories coming in. If you've got any more memories to share with Anna, then I'm happy to sit here and discuss them with you. Yeah, well, that was it. There was the chemistry was there. That's the big word there. Sometimes you get the chemistry, and they just everything just blends together so well. And that was the case with the On the Buses cast. Just like you had that same sort of chemistry, as you say, like there was in George and Mildred's. You got that same sort of chemistry in the Carry On films. Just something that it just works, if you see what I mean. Sometimes it doesn't. It's like the with Porridge, another great sitcom that I love, a classic sitcom, Porridge. With the original Porridge, it was just a chemistry between all the cast. Whereas they tried bringing it back a few years ago, and it was absolutely shocking, dreadful. The chemistry wasn't there, and I don't think the talent was there either in terms of the actors that they got together for it. So as the things that make things work. Our talented cast, great scripts with Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney, and obviously the great chemistry between them. So just if anyone's got any more memories they want to share, post them up and I'll refer to them, discuss them if you will. Just keep them coming in. As long as I've got things to discuss, then I'm happy to hang around online and a little bit more. Obviously, as we say with Anna, the amount of times that I met her, it's probably maybe talking maybe about 10 times, something like that. Not all the time through just the on the buses events. Obviously, there was separate events. Obviously, we took her out to dinner. I also met her down a couple of times down at the London Comic Con events down at Westminster. Obviously, there was a transporting her from her home up to Prestatyn for the 2017 event, I think it was. And then on top of that, you had all the events that she attended. You know, obviously another one was when I went with her, escorted her to Stephen Lewis's funeral. Yeah, that's right, Russell. Yeah, and Padden and the glasses, of course, they were all just props to help make it appear dowdy, if you see what I mean. What do you mean of Anna the woman, or of the part that she played, Paul, of playing Olive, or was it the part of Anna the woman? Part of Anna the woman, it was just that she was so down to earth. As I said before, there was no airs and graces on her. She was obviously she carved herself out as a queen of on the buses. That's how a lot of the fans will see her. But she didn't hold those airs and graces. She was just so down to earth and so chilled. Another thing that I remember as well, it was really always a laugh. It was like obviously when you have events where people are signing things like photographs, you always got to have the Sharpie pens, which are the ones that do the proper job on signing autographs. So basically, you used to have maybe about a couple of them out at each of the celebrities that were sitting there. And but a lot of the times with the signings, once the signings are over, and people just get up to go, and that's it. They don't bother about the pens and all that. They just get left on the table. And I remember once Hannah was like, "Whose pens are these? Are these anybody's pens? Okay, I'm taking them." And she would sweep them all into her handbag, because obviously she'd done a lot of signings as well. So it was like waste not, want not, if you see what I mean, which was always funny to see, really. But it's just that she was so down to earth. I would say it as Paul. Times when she would, after the event would finish or during the break in it, she'd just kick off her shoes, relax outside, have a cigarette with a glass of Coke, and just chill. Basically, it was those sorts of memories. And it was good as well that she knew we had, myself and my co-organizer, we had issues with a certain other person I won't mention here, and she was ready to fight in our corner with us against that certain person, if you see what I mean. So it was really nice to have the backing of Anna and things like that. Gerald, no, I wouldn't. Perhaps surprised, yeah, because obviously she was such a dowdy character that she said, if you see what I mean. and surprised by Olive being so sort of like loved as a character. She couldn't really get the grasp of that side of it. But I think, and one of the, it might be the interview that I've got on here again, it's I think Anna like puts it down to the great chemistry that there was between the cast that just made it click. I think she mentions that in that interview that's on here, I think. Yeah, well, that's it. It just sort of like went around the globe, really. I mean, I don't think it's on that interview that I've got. If not, to say other interview that I've got somewhere, but I don't know where the hell it is. Of Bob Grant in these states when he was out in Calcutta somewhere. He was out in Calcutta in India, and he said he's seen this scruffy little kid in rags sitting on the looking at our TV shop in the window, and then he turned around. I mean, sorry, he wasn't. He was sitting on the corner of the edge of a curve of the road, and he was looking intently at Bob. And then all of a sudden he stood up pointing and saying, on the buses, on the buses. And Bob says he couldn't, for the life of him, think where this scruffy little street urchin could have recognised him from. It must have been from watching a TV in a shop window where they were screening on the buses. But it just shows that even people in India could recognise, you know what I mean, an on the buses actor, which just shows how it's spread around the world, basically. Well, it was something I've been a cockney that she picked up from being like 17, but obviously she lived in, as far as I'm certain, she lived in London all of her life that she was over here. So that would have been, by the time that she sadly passed, it would have been 68 years in London. So keep your memories coming in and your tributes to Anna tonight. fondest memory throughout the series. I would say it was probably working with a cast like Michael. I know she had a close bond with Michael Robbins on the series. So I'd probably say it was something like that, like working with Michael. And I know she was close with Doris as well on the series. So probably the working with closely with the rest of the cast, I would say. Well, I did sort of mention it earlier, Chris. I know that she wasn't happy with the scene in on the omnibuses where she had to have that metal fence tied to her back. And obviously, Terry Duggan, her husband, got involved and said that he wasn't, they both weren't happy on doing it. So they went to Brian Izzard, the producer, and said he wasn't happy with Anna having that tied to her back. So there was certainly that in the TV series, I would say. The other thing another thing that comes to me with Anna, she was one that always liked somebody who was a genuine fan and knew their stuff, if you know what I mean, really knew their stuff. I mean, I remember sort of like first meeting Anna, and it was sort of like obviously when you come to meet somebody you've grown up, you've grown to love, grown up and admired, and if you know what I mean, you're really nervous. But obviously, once she got the gist of like how much I knew, and like I would speak to her about, oh, when I think it was like that incident we were just talking about there about she said there was there was a scene when I had to have something tied to my back, and I goes, "Oh, was that the metal fence and on the omnibuses?" And you know what I mean? It's sort of like straight away she knew, or he knows what he's talking about. You know, it's sort of those sorts of things she used to like. And the same with I would note it when people were coming up with things to sign. It might be some little, a much lesser TV show that she did, or the lesser stage show, or something like that. And she was impressed with the fact that that person remembered her or admired her for being in that. And she always took that on board and appreciated it, if you see what I mean. Yeah, that's the thing, Chris, and the rest of the cast, really. So if you've got any memories of Anna, just post them up and share them here on this tribute night to Anna. Okay, so any more memories about Anna? Just post them up here and I'll discuss them away with you. I do think of another incident as well, another memory from one of the events at Boreham Wood. This one was. I remember there was somebody who's was obviously we had to form a long queue for the people to do the signings at, and there was this one particular lady who was stopping and holding up the queue because she was stopping to speak to the individual people that she was getting signatures for and chatting to them for about 5 minutes. So the queue was going nowhere fast. And she came to Anna as well, and she said, "No, can you have security, please?" Which was good because it got the line moving, and we got things moving a lot quicker as it needed to be for the signings to get done. Yeah, I think many people, everyone will miss it. You know what I mean? On the buses, fans. There was people, obviously, as we see. In terms of an acting career, it would have been I would say, towards the end of the 1950s. Yeah, that's like Chris. I do remember it because it was like there was somebody who was taking the Mickey, basically. We'll put it that way. They were standing speaking to each person they were getting something signed from, and obviously they were at that holding everyone else up who were waiting patiently to get something signed. And this person was taking thought it was a chance to speak to the cast members, crew members for like 5 minutes. And obviously Anna obviously spotted that and said, "Can we have security, please?" Yeah, there's lots, Russell. There's lots still with us. Obviously, ones that we'll be hoping to have at the press starting event. Your likes of Adam Rhodes, Sandra Bryant, Kate Williams, uh, Carolee Donahue still with us. You've got the likes of Brenda Gogan, Andrea Lawrence, Wayne Westthorpe, who played Little Arthur and Mutiny on the Buses. Jules Walter, Helen Fraser, Linda Regan, Nina West, so much more than that as well. That could Patricia Clapton, Olivia Breeze. So you can get the gist of how many there actually still is kicking around. It's not something that's out there for general knowledge on the rag trade and how she felt about that. I think she was sort of like pleased of another role in a sitcom, if you know what I mean, where she was reprising the role of Olive. So I think she cherished that side of it as well. Obviously proud of having another. Was not nowhere near as successful on the buses, but it still pulled in respectable viewing figures as well. So I would imagine it was something that she was quietly proud of as well. She was a widow of Bob. That sounds like Anna Fox. Yeah, Bob. So I think Terry died in 2008. So she had been a widow for maybe 13, 14 years. No, but she brought up Terry's daughter from his first marriage. So that was like a stepdaughter, but she brought her up as her own, basically. But she never had any sort of like any children of her own. Okay, so if anybody got any more memories to share? I think Anna taps into it in one of her interviews somewhere that Holiday on the Buses was her favourite of the three films making it. No, Adam. Stephen passed away in 2015. Stephen Lewis, who played Inspector Blake. No problem, Bob. No, none of the main cast are alive now. Anna was the last of the main cast to pass away. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night now anyway. I've been here for an hour and 3/4. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the chance to pay a tribute to Anna. I hope we've done her justice and all of that, really, and some of my recollections of my times with Anna at the events we organised and such like, and talked about her career and a good deal of detail. I know it sort of like helped you with your grieving process and all of that. I know we're all very upset by Anna's passing, but obviously it'll live on the buses. She'll have that sense of immortality living on through these DVDs and such like. and obviously the live streams and the repeatings that they get on the telly and all of that. And obviously next time we're back together doing a live podcast, that will be in happier circumstances with another live question time of On the Buses. And I'll wish you all a good night and thanks for popping in. Okay, goodbye everyone.